European truck.
So,
Isn't that on, I mean, just the gateway plan's on the website, isn't it? I mean, that's where I sort of read.
it may be up there. I'm not sure if
It's
the gateway
under
plan-
zoning regs.
The zoning regs are up there.
But not this.
Yeah, it's under, there is a gateway.
The proposed reg is not up there, but the existing regulations are.
Yeah, but that's not what we really need, is all the existing, what we need is the PODC's exact wording.
And the POCD is
And
available.
also, then all I needed would be this.
Right, would be that and a copy of the POCD.
Right.
I mean,
Well, thank you, Roseanne, for that input. From my mind, I think the idea that we would,
Rush to judgment.
yeah, well, and let's choose our words, and maybe if each one of us comes back at our next meeting with a bullet point or one thought for whether it's consistent with our POCD or inconsistent, and then we can conduct an efficient meeting that creates a motion out of that.
well, typically I'll go back and draft
That'd be great.
language for the commission to consider.
Can we get that sent to us via
I can get it
email?
to you.
Is that something that can happen?
Yeah, as soon as I have it drafted,
Yeah.
I can send it to you.
And
I'll
like
send
you
it
said,
individually.
the actual documentation of whatever their master development plan is, something like that also, so that we can, because again, we're talking about a large parcel that is kind of locked into town. It touches different sides, and for us to be doing the motion without a map, I think we might see something on the map that we would want to include in the motion. Just as a final addition to this, and in the topic or on the
And I also think one other thing, I think that if all of it, I mean, and I know that I've done it and I've been there a number of times, if everybody here on the commission would take a ride over at the development itself and then ride through it and then come back up out of, and go on to 161, you'll see the difference. It becomes an entirely different, and you see it in a different set of eyes.
And just to throw one more specific comment, I have in front of me the Plan of Conservation and Development, which Gary has just read a passage from, which talks about the Flanders Exit 74, 75 Business District. Also, I have the Gateway Plan Development District zoning regulations. The very last part of that, 11 Alpha 9-7, says phasing and public improvements. Implementation of an adopted MDP, Master Development Plan, may be phased on the condition that all public infrastructure associated with each phase of the MDP shall be constructed prior to the issuance of certificates of occupancy for such phase, or shall be bonded to the satisfaction of the commission. Now, to apply that, I need to understand the phasing dimension of a master development plan, but as an architect, master development plan is not intended to be decoupled so that half of it gets done and the other half is a fairy tale. So for me, this is not referenced in the reg change as proposed, but that to me, reading it, sounds like all the public infrastructure needs to be completed before any COs get issued. So I'd like maybe for you to in your memo to make sure we touch on that, because that to me,
Well,
That was section
to me,
11.
that's consistent with everything they've said here, is that it all has to be done first before they do anything.
yes, and I'm saying that as they are proposing this, they haven't touched that.
They haven't addressed that issue.
They haven't addressed that, and to me, even if we were to change this part of the text amendment, that thing could still get applied to them and say, hey, we're not doing any COs until all public infrastructure associated with the phase.
Right. So now I changed my phase plan.
Well, let's see it. Let's see a rev date. Let's see a phasing plan.
Everything west of the Patagonia River is phase 1 and 2. Phase 3, I haven't even constructed yet. Do you see where I'm going?
Yes.
Well,
Yes.
I'd like to see them say that.
They won't.
will.
They're not gonna say that.
They won't.
Okay.
So I guess what I'm saying is that master development plan, the only one I have is the one that was originally submitted
Mm-hmm.
Don't lose
15
it.
years ago. back in 1999, 2000 or something like
And
that.
was it broken into discrete phases?
If it was, I've never seen a phase plan. I've just seen
Okay.
the overall.
So if that's the case, then there's no phasing.
That was section 11.9.
It's the very end. I just
Can
happen
you-
to be skimming
Can
it.
you just give me the rest of that?
11 alpha 9.7.
11.
It's the last
Okay.
sentence prior to the next section 12 special use district. Part of the reason I support us not taking action tonight is because this regulation in the zoning regs, it does talk about permitted uses and dimensional requirements and general requirements. Then it provides a master development plan as an alternate way to meet all zoning regulations. So it's a dense chapter, most of which, as a result of that master development plan being implemented, most of this doesn't apply because it would be for a non-MDP development within the Gateway Plan Development District.
Maybe that's what we have.
Right.
But again, that's up to the zoning commission, right? They're the ones who've made the determination, regardless of our previous decisions. They ultimately make the determination and change regulations, as such. And they're the ones going to sit there and say, well, are we no longer following the master development plan? Is this thing, has it changed so much? We need to apply the other regs. And I believe Mr. Harris and the developers are of the opinion that they're still working under that master development plan.
Well, this is all good food for thought.
So I will, take that into consideration. I'll come up with a motion for you. We'll look at that section and address it. We'll get a copy of the plan. If there is a phasing plan, I'll present that to you as well.
And part of the PODCs too.
And I'll give you, I'll give you the section, well, in my memo, you'll have the sections of the POCD referenced. I'll give you section 11 from the zoning regulations.
Can we have copies of that? Are you gonna just text copies? Or
Yeah, I can
I mean, so
send,
this way we can just
I can
read it?
send most of this out to you with the exception of a memo and a motion that I
Right.
need time to draft.
Right.
So all the supplementary background information, that supporting documentation, I can get to you
By Friday.
by Friday.
Right. I'm giving you time.
Very well. Do any commission members have any opposition to us tabling this, dropping our 7 November meeting, scheduling a 30 October meeting? Any objections?
No.
No.
Okay. Do I need a motion to schedule that, Gary, or can we just run that?
You can just run it. I mean,
Okay.
you
So we're going to schedule a 30
Special meeting.
Monday.
Monday, October 30th,
Yeah.
special meeting.
And when Jen emails you, don't reply.
I think it should be a motion because you don't have a full commission here tonight.
Thank you, Roseanne.
Very good.
Very well. I'll make a motion to schedule a 30 October Monday night
Second.
meeting. Second from Mr. Lynch. Any further discussion?
October 30th.
All those in favor
Monday.
say aye.
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 Should I take another motion to cancel the 7 October? Okay.
Yeah. You can do that as chair. Just, I'm canceling the meeting.
I'm canceling it then.
That's
So
it. You
cancel.
put your foot down. Go ahead. Where's that gavel?
What's the implication here of harm if this is approved? What's the harm that's caused by allowing this change? And particularly in regards to the crossing of Caveats River. So that's something that,
It's setting a precedent.
yes, it's something that it needs to be somehow worked in. Unfortunately, we don't have more time, so we can't get, for instance, we can't get Commission Natural Resources on that.
Well,
But you know what?
They could.
No, but wait, you just made a great point. And the point being that I think that this was all scheduled, timing-wise, date-wise, and notice to us, because of the fact that there wasn't enough time to do all of the background that should be done, exactly the way you just said.
I don't know, I can't comment.
I'm just
Oh.
making an observation.
It's,
What I,
I think that's
What I-
the big thing, isn't it, is
our waterway.
to, not do what was asked for, which is to put in protection for the river.
Right.
Right, and there's not enough time to go through everything that we needed to go through,
So I think
time-wise, because it's going before the zoning board, so.
that's the harm that's caused.
So in regards to natural resources, I believe they meet the second Wednesday, the third Wednesday alongside Board of Finance. So if I'm looking at the October calendar, I believe they would either meet on the 18th or the 11th. So they would have some time if we wanted them to comment on it back to us.
We could ask them for a comment. We could also invite them to our 30 October meeting, should one of them want to contribute to deliberations, or is that
I think
allowed?
we need a decision
There are-
by them ahead of time.
Yeah, you'd want them to look at it and report back to the the commission
that we
with their
can-
opinion.
But they're not ex officio, but one
No.
of their commission members could be present here and
Yeah, they could.
available for questions if
Sure.
if the commission so had, wanted to clarify something on the natural resources. I just would like to invite whichever of their representatives they might like to send.
I think they should go to the zoning meeting too, if there were any questions.
Sure.
So I will extend the invitation to the Natural Resources Commission to attend that meeting, and to
furnish whatever literature reports,
I will be happy
memos
to.
they'd like
I
to.
would be happy on behalf of the Planning Commission, send them a referral
There you go.
they can discuss at their next meeting.
Oh,
And
great.
there's nothing illegal about that. The statutes don't say that we can't. Their charge is to provide guidance and opinions regarding natural resources and the environment to both the Board of Selectmen and any other town, board, or commission. So,
And you're in luck, that happens to be my ex officio also.
All right.
Oh,
What, I'm sorry, I
wonderful.
She's ex officio to them also. Okay, well, thank you for your
And
input.
that- the 30th is a Monday night, right?
Yes, Monday night. It's a Monday, not a
My
Tuesday.
phone is.
Because we're all going trick or treating the next night.
Yeah, all my 5 kids that show up.
Very well. We will move past this agenda item.
Go
It's
home.
tabled.
Two, but there's no kids that come.
Brings us to municipal referrals, of which we have none. Old business is our POCD 2020 update, which I think we'll table, and the Orchards bond reduction, which I see literature for in here. What's that all about?
that was on our last meeting agenda. They're requesting a bond release
Again,
in the amount of approximately $566,000.
again.
So what I did is at the last meeting, we were waiting on a report from the town engineer regarding the review of the public improvements and to ensure that they were done according to proposed plans and town standards. So in your packets, you have a memo from Victor. And that memo essentially highlights all the as-built plans that he's reviewed.
Where are you in these?
Oh, right here, Orchard bonds reduction.
Old business?
I did provide you a memo with some findings and a resolution. I'd also attached email correspondence from Ryan McCammon regarding the remediation area. At the last meeting, I recall Chairman Shook indicated he'd like to see a map, so which I don't have this on the big screen, but I will bring up and hold up for you a colored depiction of the Orchard subdivision.
Look at this.
So, essentially, we currently own the road
Good
from
God.
Plum Hill, the intersection of Route 1, all the way to the intersection with Arbor Crossing. And then we own Arbor Crossing from that intersection all the way to Pear Grove, to the cul-de-sac, up to the intersection of Arbor Crossing and Peach Lane, and all of Peach Lane to a hammerhead. What they're proposing is the town is to now take over Holly Lane and that portion of Arbor Crossing that intersects with Peach Lane at both its northerly and southerly intersections.
And that's the roadways we're talking about.
So we're only focused on this roadway here, that's between Peach Lane, the southern terminus of Peach Lane, and the northern terminus in Holly Lane.
Okay.
And,
So-
and because they have completed that road,
They completed this road, the remediation of these lots up off of Partridge Court. And all
Amazing.
of that material is now located along lots 82, 83, 84, and 85.
Wow.
yeah, when
That's
you drive
amazing.
on Scott Road, that's the huge
Yeah.
blasted
Right.
mound.
Initially, all that remediated material was going to go into the proposed open space areas between the lots. We, town staff and the current developers, they came to us requesting if they could just eliminate these lots and use that as the remediation area for the stockpile, versus putting it behind, in the open space areas, because that required additional clearing. In addition, it would also make selling those homes more difficult in terms of marketability. So.
Eventually, I'm sorry, Gary, eventually they're gonna build on all those lots,
No,
right?
these are,
Okay.
this material would actually have to be excavated and removed. It's been capped with 4 to 6 inches of topsoil.
Is that why they're recommending that 125,000
Because we had the
be
remainder of the subdivision.
retained?
Still, yeah, so Victor's still recommending that we retain 125,000 for
Right.
road and sedimentation control,
Mhm.
because we had the remainder of the subdivision. We still, so from the intersection, the northern intersection of Peach Lane and Arbor Crossing,
Uh-huh.
around Partridge Court, and the portion of Arbor Crossing from the easterly terminus of Partridge Court and Arbor Crossing to Peach Lane, that's all been paved with a binder course. Does not have the final course of asphalt, they're still building homes there, so they're not asking to release any money associated with that portion of the development, but it is calculated as part of the overall ENS bond, right? They've done some work, but they still have disturbed area, so we have to make sure we have enough money to grade it and seed it if they default.
Okay, so the big pile, will it ever be removed?
No. It's
You're gonna
not.
have a big pile of contaminated soil?
So the hill on Scott Road,
Mm-hmm.
that hill has got all contaminated material, and it's been capped with topsoil. And that, per the health code, is what you want to do with this contaminated soil. The contaminant, the pesticide, binds to the soil itself. So short of disposing it in an incinerator, this is the next best option, and the state allows you to keep it on site. They don't want you to remove it from the property it originated from. So in doing so, they eliminated these lots and said we can just put it here, cap it, and it's forever stable.
Contaminated.
It's forever contaminated, but it's stable, it's in one spot, we know where it's at.
Out of curiosity, what would something like that cost to be removed?
I would not be able to put a number on, I don't know, very expensive.
Yeah.
And the people
Millions of
that are-
dollars.
We're talking about,
You'd be
if-
hauling, multiple, probably 100 plus, triaxles full of.
well, we're talking about 230 acre parcel that was a apple orchard, subject to pesticides and toxins, that they converted into residential, which meant they
Beautiful
had to
residentials.
capture all the contaminated soil, which was what, the organic matter 18 inches deep from the topsoil?
Plus or minus, yeah, it varied depending on the depth of topsoil
Wow.
And
I
all
wonder-
of that material
And,
was.
and the neighbors that are there and the residents that are there are not minding something like that?
They probably
It's all
don't.
disclosed. They have to, on every lot that was contaminated, it has to be disclosed to the buyer that it was remediated.
Wow.
And that's
Well,
what they're agreeing to, that, hey, my lot's, it meets the public health code for
So
habit.
let's just put some
Do we
grass
do
on it.
this on every commercial, or?
No,
I'm just thinking of Gateway. Where's
only,
their contamination pile?
we only do this where we know there has been a historical use of pesticides and herbicides. I think with the Gateway development,
Yeah, that was.
There
That was-
was a pesticide place back there, a garden center with all kinds of pesticides. I'm just curious where, with the waterway there.
Certainly, I don't know, I wasn't aware of that.
Oh, yeah, years
but-
ago.
But
She's the
I guess,
historical lady, she knows everything.
I guess my answer to that is that someone went in there at some time and mined gravel out of there. So I'm guessing that was subsequent to that. Maybe
No,
I'm
the
wrong.
garden
but
center was afterwards.
was the garden center and the location of pools, et cetera? Because there's no structure. There's no other structures out there. so
No,
I don't know
we're
where-
talking years ago when they were building 95.
Oh, okay.
That whole area.
See, she knows.
Um,
I just,
I-
it was just on the top of my head.
yeah, I guess in regards to that,
Point that this sets a precedent.
Huh?
Is your point that this sets a precedent?
Yes, it does.
I would say that because the well, I don't know if the gateway where the residential units are.
That was farmland.
And
See?
again,
Yeah, my understanding is
you
the
know,
apples specifically were big pesticides.
Well,
but
I-
I'm not sure
I
what,
guess
what were they farming? Do we
I would
know?
say the difference here, it necessarily wouldn't set precedent because we were in the planning commission, the zoning commission approved that development and did not require this additional level of investigation.
I don't think anybody on that commission lived here long enough
To
to
know.
even know that. Not that I'm dating myself, but,
I think Mr. Dwyer.
oh, yes, he would, except for Mr. Dwyer.
So that, I mean, I guess, moving ahead, all I can say is we've got the contaminated soil in an area that the town had agreed to locate it. It's been capped and made stable, if you will, for lack of a better term, to the satisfaction of the Ledgely Health District. So that being said, in addition to Victor's memo, that should be sufficient, in my opinion, to release the portion of the bond that they've requested. I did provide you a breakdown of the bond and what we're currently holding. So, here's my memo. So the first memorandum that has that breakdown will show you what the remaining balance will be on each of those bonds. So we hold currently 3 cash bonds and 1 letter of credit. The letter of credit will remain in place at $1,830,000. The remaining public improvement bond will be in cash, will be $118,289. And then we'll hold the E&S bonding of $125,000 in cash. So in total, we'll still retain $2,073,289.
Well, these calculations were performed by Mr. Benny, the town engineer.
In conjunction with John Paul Marine from Gerwick Marine, who represents the developer, the
Cool.
carriers. We had several meetings with them, their attorney, Robert Ziegler, which also included our attorney, Ed O'Connell. In addition to the bond release, they're also requesting that the Planning Commission recommend to the Board of Selectmen road acceptance of those portions I previously pointed out.
And do we have an engineer's letter saying that the road meets the standards of the town?
Yeah, that should be on the back of that memo. The second memo I provided you with the findings and resolution is Victor's memo dated September 25th, 2017, stating that specifically. Again, there's also an email in which that memo was attached, which he refers to and says that's his certification of satisfactory completion of the public improvements at the orchards for Holly Lane and portion of Arbor Crossing.
So-
It was also reviewed by the East Lyme Water and Sewer Department in conjunction with Mr. Benny. And they too are in agreement with the acceptance of that portion of Arbor Crossing and Holly Lane.
And of substance is the orchards requested a bond reduction of $783,000. However, after review by Mr. Benny, the town engineer, he suggests a reduction of $566,000. So
Correct.
in his measurement of their progress, he has them not as far along as they were requesting.
Correct.
However, with the map that you've shown us, you feel that the road that they're saying is completed does meet town standards and,
The portion of road in which they're requesting to be accepted by the town has met town standards.
Very well.
Does meet town standards, based on Mr. Benny's memo.
very well. I think I've got the gist of this. Do commission members have any further questions? I think looking ahead, Gary, we can expect another one of these further down the line when the contractor has performed more work, potentially has the next segment to turn over to the town of East Lyme.
So, yeah,
They've been
based on the
doing
map
this.
that I
They've been doing
previously
this
showed you,
Yeah.
you know, it is, you know, they did put a note on here, phase 4. The estimated date of substantial completion was July 2015. I think it was substantially complete by then. They had the binder course down. Their issue that they had is they couldn't turn the road over to the town at that time because they were still driving their ukes across it to move the contaminated material from the lots up on Partridge Court. And we don't allow ukes on town roads. But now that that project and that work has been completed, and the road's been paved with a final course of asphalt, and the catch basin tops reset, they now can turn the road over to the town, and we don't have to worry about them driving ukes on our town road.
Very well. Do commission members have any other thoughts before we take a motion on this? Or questions? Seems to me that it's under our old business.
Right.
Are we looking for two specific motions, one to?
One motion to release the bond, and then another motion to recommend the Board of Selectmen accept the roads as town roads.
I'll do the first one. Motion to accept the road. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Second from Ms. Bankston. Any further discussion?
No.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? 5-0-0. We ask the road be accepted. Second motion was for the bond.
Correct, which I provided you language specifically
Thank
for
you.
that.
Where is that?
Be on the first memo.
Be it resolved, the planning commission of the town of East Lyme, exercising its authority and having reviewed the above referenced request, hereby moves to release a portion of the public improvement bond in the amount of approximately $251,711 for the completed public improvements and utilities associated with the construction of the road designated Holly Lane and a portion of a road designated at Arbor Crossing, which extends from the southern terminus of Peach Lane to the northern terminus of Peach Lane. Is there a second sheet as opposed to
Yeah.
the?
Yeah. Oh, it doesn't do that.
Not in my
Ugh.
Yeah, it doesn't do that.
classic, Gary. My script just ran out there.
Wait, maybe it's on the next page, hold on.
We got a packet malfunction.
Yes, packet malfunction.
We're missing page 2, 3.
I'm gonna just go back a little
Yep.
bit. That 251,711.
I was going to say there should be another chunk, right?
Yeah, you need to just revise that to the 566,711.
Okay.
Where you're getting that number? Oh,
Should
from
I
the top.
restart that motion
Oh,
using
yeah,
the language
yeah.
that you have right up at the top instead of the be it resolved part?
Use
Yep.
the be it,
Yeah, it's a couple.
Yeah, it's here.
use the be it resolved part.
Yeah.
Just change the number.
Yeah.
Here, and then here's the rest of the memo. It continues over.
Aha, okay.
Oh,
So,
let me get the back page.